little bit and then be proactive. What it does do though is this. We know an end date, and if we're confident in that end date and confident working with that client, 15 processes before might be getting design sign off from the architect, client, interior designer, whoever it is. What this does is that instead of that time creeping forward and constraining us at the back end and making us putting pressure on our manufacturing processes, what it does is it makes us very diligent about saying, hey, listen, Max, we need sign off by this Friday, otherwise your date's going to move. And that's probably the most powerful bit of it. Absolutely. So if we take one of our installers, they're on the road all the time, so they just have the app on their phone. And what we're quite good at now is, they will really only have the 1 or 2 jobs that are in their immediate vicinity or immediate future, and they'll log on to those. So when they log in there, they hit the home button and it'll come up with 2 or 3 tasks, maybe even only 1. So if they're working on the Smith job today, it'll just come up, that'll be their only task. And it's so simple. They click the little hour clock thing, it starts ticking, it starts logging it to that's all they have to do. So it remembers their password and all that sort of stuff. So in terms of them logging on, they don't have to, they used to have to come inside and find a computer and log on and muck around. Now they can just do it on the road, hit the app. We've got several computers around the factory. They just click on, type in Paul 1, 2, 3, 4. There's their 3 or 4 jobs that they're allocated to. They know which one that they're going to be on. They just click on it, hit the hourglass, and away they go. They can also add comments and stuff like this. If they're going over hours, why are they doing that? Did they have issues? They can add comments into their if they're doing rework or something like that, they can type it in, a little comment and stuff like that. All of which is really handy when we're going through the job, because everyone forgets everything pretty quickly. So it's just quite handy to have that. So from staff interface, they just find it so easy. It's excellent. Looking here, so you can set up under the company, you've got divisions, teams, and groups, editors, users, and permissions, and all this sort of stuff. So we have all our staff grouped into areas, and then for setting up every task, we have templates. And I was just going to go and have a look in here how many we've got. Probably 15 or 20 templates. So we've got 4 project managers, and each one of them has, a basic Melteca, a big project, small project, all of these different things, charge up, inquiry templates. So it's pretty quick, actually. We just say, right, Dan, it's a full initial task. So kitchen, so that's the most complicated one, with color sign-off, line color sign-offs, final sign-offs, financial completions. And then we have another template within that project where we don't have all of the actual sign-offs, because he's only going to do it once. We don't need it on every task. So it's actually pretty quick. We can probably set up, a full house lot with 10 or 15 projects in it in probably an hour or less. So when we finish a job as well, you archive it. But again, it's really easy to go back and bring that job up. There's an archive search. And the other thing I'd add as well is, and it sort of goes back to the original question, we were very heavy on paper folders and paper, and we need a little bit because it's plans and all that sort of stuff. But what we've really tried to do is make it that you don't need to leave your seat. When I first came to this company, like, people were just walking around looking for information the whole time. So what we do is, when we set up an initial project and quote it, all the plans are in there, all our subcontractors' quotes are in there, the final quote that got sent out's in there, the accepted quotes all logged. We can add files, so it's all in PDF form. It sits in that main inquiry sort of thing. So for Mr. Smith, we've got a main inquiry where we quoted it, got accepted. All of the paperwork's in there, so we can see our original plans, all of that sort of stuff that we quoted off, what our quote was. So if someone needs to know information about that, they don't even need to be very across that project. They can just go in there. We have all our quote cards are on spreadsheets and stuff, so you can do so much in the background without having to go and ask people questions. So we store a lot of data on there, actually, and again, that can be really helpful. But the amount of information in one area for us, as I said before, I can find out so much information about a job that I don't know anything about very, very quickly. Even the initial email that comes in from the client, we cut and paste that and put it in the description, so we know who's the person that emailed us, where are they from, who did they email in our company, what's their phone number, their address, all of that sort of stuff's on there as well. It just makes life simpler. You know, at the end of the day, it might save 2 or 3 or 4 minutes, but it's the frustration, you know, people, our guys perform, and girls perform best when they have a job in front of them. They know exactly what they're supposed to be doing. Everything's there for them. And, you know, and it's part of lean manufacturing, like any manufacturer actually. You know, if all parts, it's not necessarily related to ProWorkflow, but being able to log on quickly and effectively, it just removes a stress or something painful for that day. And they get frustrated, and when they get frustrated, it manifests into other things, and they're grumpy around clients.
Oh yeah.
So it's just so simple, you know. Even for a little while there, they were using you know, they're going into their Safari or Google Chrome or whatever and logging onto it, but they had to find that page. You know, it was just, you know, like I say, it's only a minute or 2 extra, but with this thing, they're allocated to the job, just click, click, click. You just never, ever hear any problems from the guys that use it all the time, you know. And like I say, it's a little bit of admin around making sure we've got a very good operations manager now, and just making sure that the right job's there for them for the right thing, because that can get frustrating if they're, you know, allocated to Smith bathroom, but they're meant to be doing Smith kitchen or something like that. So as long as we in the office do our work and everything's there for them, it's really easy. But even if they did ring me and say, hey, listen, I've allocated for the wrong job, it's literally just click, drag that person into the right job and say, right, you're good to go. Like I think I've alluded to it a little bit before, but I think it's been the most powerful thing. When I took over the company, I sort of had a basic company accountant, and we didn't know, we had no idea where we made or lost money. And I actually hired a guy whose background was in cost accounting. The other accountant then left anyway, so he does everything, but his background is in cost accounting. And we try to get as much data as we can about everything, and we try to automate it. And through you guys, we've been able to set up those reports that we need to, you know, like I said, for quoting purposes, for back costing. I mean, we have so much more clarity around every one of our jobs. We're running daily spreadsheets around times and stuff like that, where someone walks around and speaks to everyone in the factory. How are you going with this job? How are you tracking towards hours? And actually, obviously, when a guy logs onto his job, he can see, you know, he's got 10 hours left to go. And if he feels he can't make those 10 hours, he raises it and says, look, this is the issue with this job. So we're getting a lot of real-time data around all the stuff. We know where we're going wrong, real time. Oops, we forgot to quote. We forgot to allow that we put aluminium around it, or that's a variation and we haven't charged for it. We need to get that signed off. So we're getting a lot more, including of the bigger back costing stuff, which is longer term. We're getting a ton of real-time data on a daily basis out of the system. And we have just before lockdown, actually, we have introduced a incentive system based around all this stuff as well, actually. Incentives have been quite hard for us to nail. We've tried a couple of things, but I think we've really got a really got a good system at the moment, actually. And it's based around all the information in ProWorkflow. People can see it. They can see what other team members are involved in it. They're pushing each other hard. They're coming to us saying, I need this thing here, otherwise it's affecting my bonus and all this sort of stuff. So we're seeing jobs, you know, where previously we would go over by 10 or 20%, coming under 10, 20%, you know, that it's thousands and thousands of dollars of, you know, probably even hundreds of thousands. So yeah, I mean, it's great. Probably the data that we're getting out of it, you know, that's been the key change for us, you know, using that data. We've increased profitability. We've worked out where our bottlenecks were, what they caused, what they were caused by. We've started to address those. Probably like everyone at the moment, labor is our big problem. You know, we could quite easily grow, but we can't get the right people in the right jobs. But so then we've said, okay, well, that's fine, but let's just iron out all of our processes and make sure everything's running sequentially and all that sort of stuff. And, you know, an example of that recently is we started install pretty much straight after we came out of level 4. Everything was ready to go. Everything had been systematically done and planned to be on time, rather than having the kitchen and then having the wardrobes not being there for another 2 or 3 weeks. So, you know, I think it's just that as we've learned to use ProWorkflow, and I think like any software or any data, your phone, your computer, you only use a tiny bit of the availability of it, you know, and you always grow and you learn and understand with that there's more benefit to you as you get to understand it more and more. So I think, you know, there's just been a natural evolution, but, you know, these reports and the data, I'd say in terms of growth, you know, because growth isn't just about getting more people on board, it's about being more efficient, more profitable, all that sort of stuff. Yeah. I think that's really important. So yeah, just the ability to get data out of it, the lack of time wasting, you know, from people having to go too many places to search for things. It's just been a lot easier to say, right, here's one system. That's what our focus and energy's on. And yeah, it's been great. They're totally flexible. So we're not locked in, you know, beyond a month or anything like that. And the advantage, and same for every individual. So if we start the month with 35 people, we get charged that month for 35 people, or maybe the next month, whatever it is. If 5 people leave, we just delete them off the system and then we don't get charged for them. There's no lead time around any of that stuff. And it's a great thing to mention, because we're literally only paying, you know, on a monthly basis for our staff here at any given time. And, you know, I love systems like that. You know, I much prefer, rather than get locked into long contracts or buying the whole thing off the shelf. It's totally flexible. If we go down to 15 staff, we're only paying for 15 staff. We go up to 50, we're paying for 50. So yeah, I think, you know, personally, I really like that. For me, I've got one last thing to add. You know, even though it's a software company, it's the people, right? So you've been there for quite a long bit of the ride, Max, but there's helplines you can ring. Anytime something's gone wrong, there's chats you can use and stuff like that. I think the response around issues, and even trying to grow with us, you know, and listening to us about, you know, saying you guys should get more into the construction side of it because it's a big area that's poorly serviced. You know, you've engaged with us. So I think it's quite an important thing. You know, often with some highly tech-based companies and stuff like that, you can never speak to a person or get responses when you need them. You're in a computer queue and stuff. So I think that mix of the people side of it with the software side of it is good.
That's so, yeah, thank you so much.